Is the truth necessary? That is the question. I'm not talking about my truth, your truth, his truth, her truth, their truth, or our truth. I'm talking about the truth that is common to all of us. Is there a need for such a truth? We don't have to go any farther away from the world of our polarized politics to realize that there is a need for the truth that is common to all of us. A couple of reputed foreign policy think tanks in the United States at the beginning of this election year 2024 went about trying to find out what the biggest threat to world peace is, not just peace in the United States, but world peace. And they came back and they said the biggest threat to world peace is the polarization of politics in the United States in this election year 2024. And it took precedence over the war that is going on in Gaza and the war that's going on between Russia and Ukraine. That is how serious the polarization of politics in the United States is. And that's not surprising because the United States is not just another country in the world. It is the most powerful country in the world. It oversees the international order, and it is and has been a bastion of democracy since its inception. One of the salient features of American democratic life is a smooth transition of power after an election. This time, one of the think tanks thinks that in November, when the election is held, the Biden camp and the Trump camp, are likely to get into a conflict over the election results. And that could spill over into violence. It's a possibility that they see coming, and that is a very worrisome situation. So we need to ask ourselves, what is the cause of this polarization? Now, if you were to look at either Biden or Trump, there's not a whole lot of differences between these two candidates. They have, they vary on some points, but there is quite a bit of similarity between the two. For instance, President Biden wanted to bring back the troops from Afghanistan. But President Trump wanted to bring back the troops. President Trump wanted to bring back the troops from Afghanistan. President Biden fulfilled it. President Trump raised tariffs for imports from other countries into the United States, and President Biden tightened those tariffs. President Trump, if he were president, he would have taken if there was a war between Israel and Palestine, he would have taken a very hawkish stance. And that is exactly what President Biden has taken. And Biden has instituted the CHIPS Act, which is supposed to increase manufacturing in the United States, specifically semiconductor manufacturing. And that's exactly what President Trump's policy was. He was all along in favor of bringing more jobs, local manufacturing in the United States. He wanted manufacturing jobs to come back home. So they have a considerable agreement there, but they do have differences as well. For instance, the Inflation Reduction Act, which is essentially a climate deal that was passed by President Biden, I don't think President Trump would have followed the same path. Likewise, I don't think Trump is very enthusiastic about being part of international institutions, but Biden is deeply committed to it. But the core difference between these two individuals is their approach to multiculturalism and celebration of diversity. Biden is deeply committed to multiculturalism and the celebration of diversity in the United States. Trump is opposed to it. That is where the difference between these two candidates plays out, very acrimoniously. And that is an ideological difference. Now, as I had alluded earlier, if you're going to look for a higher truth, a truth that is common to all of us, then we can reach out for that truth, and that will shine light on this very acrimonious difference that exists between President Trump and President Biden, and help resolve the polarization. That common truth is not available. It's not available in any shelf for us to pick it up. It is not available in any sort of ideology packaged for us to really pull out. We have to explore and find out that common truth. But there is a need for that common truth to bring these two camps together. But this polarization is not only an all-American affair. Polarization in the United States is bad enough, but we have polarization all around the world. And all of them have an ideological basis to it. Go to Russia. What does Putin want? I mean, he has a nostalgia for Russian Empire. Russian glory, Russian greatness. Russia has had 300 years of greatness. The Tsars and the empire, and then the Soviet Union. A vast amount of territory was under their control, and they had tremendous influence. Now all of that is lost. Now he wants to recreate it, and he has made a beginning in Ukraine. What do the Ukrainians want? They are deeply committed to the principle of self-determination, and that is the bedrock of the international system today. So that is the difference that makes both these sides fight. Now, if we had a common truth, a higher truth that we could appeal to and get some wisdom from it, we will be able to help these warring factions come together. Same way in Palestine as well. The fighting is over. What should Palestine, who should control Palestine, whose nation should Palestine be? Should it be a Zionist state, or should it be a Palestinian nation? That's what the fighting is all about. Both sides want it entirely for themselves, and that is the source of this problem to begin with. And then you go to India, my own native country. There, the politics, the division, the fault line is along Hindu. On one side of the fault line of the division, polarization, is Hindu nationalism, and opposed to them you have the secularists, the liberals, the leftists, the Tamils, the Sikhs, the northeastern states, the Muslims, and other religious minorities. All of them are on one side, and the Hindu nationalists on the other side. They are making a claim for the content of India. That's what that conflict is all about. India is a nation of communities, and these communities are polarized along the Hindu nationalism and opposition to Hindu nationalism fault line. You go to the Middle East and Africa, North Africa, and even West Africa, you will find that Islamist groups are operating there. Normally in the media, we just read about 3 or 4 of them, the big ones: Al-Shabaab, Boko Haram, ISIS. ISIS Khorasan was involved in an attack on Moscow recently, and then Al-Qaeda. But there are several other groups which are operating in that region. In addition to it, a couple of states, you have Islamist governments, for instance, in Afghanistan and in Iran. And when the elections were held in Egypt after the Arab Spring, it is the Islamist group, the Muslim Brotherhood, that won the election. So there are 2 factions there. One is the status quo, which keeps all these countries in place, except 1 or 2 of these Islamist countries. And there is an Islamist opposition to the status quo in all of these Islamic countries. So that is the division that exists in the Islamic world. And China, of course, China in recent years has been involved in trade wars, with the United States, and there is the issue of Taiwan that is outstanding. In the sense, China has explicitly said that it is not renouncing the use of force in the reunification of its motherland. And the United States, 20 years ago, if somebody had asked me, I would have said the United States not going to go to war with China over Taiwan. But now, with the kind of hawkish rhetoric that comes out of some of these think tanks, foreign policy, right-wing foreign policy think tanks, I'm not so sure whether that would result in fighting or not. So if that is the case, if the United States and China get into a war, if the polarization spills over into a war, that would be very, very dreadful for the world. So, with this kind of background, in this kind of environment, I think that there is a need for us to search for a truth that is common to all of us. Something that would shed light and try to bring all these people, different nations. The world is shrinking because of technology. We know what's happening in different parts of the world instantaneously. We are able to travel within a span of a day to the remote corners of the world. And yet, in this world that is shrinking, there's tremendous amount of polarization, and there is a willingness, ever more so willingness to use violence to satisfy these claims of the different parties. So to bring all of them together, I think going back to the drawing board and asking what is there, whether there is a common truth that could bring all of us together and to seek that truth out has a real place. And I am making a case in this video that there is a need, and we need to explore for that common truth that would shed light on all these differences that exist in the world, all this polarization that exists in the world, and would help bring the nations of the world together. So having said that, I thank all of you who have listened up to this point, and I would highly encourage you to share this video with others and any subsequent video that I would put out, so that those of us who are interested in peace and would like to make a difference, would like to express our desire for peace, have a chance to get heard as a result of this discourse. Thank you very much.